Fire outbreak destroys several vehicles at the mechanical garage in Wellingara, rendering the owners helpless. The World Health Organization has expressed concern over increasing number of deadly and transmissible diseases in several African countries. And Tanzania's government introduces a personal data protection law to enhance public safety. This and more coming your way on The World Today. Hello, this is Eyeafrica TV and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin coming to you live from our studios in Banjul. Many thanks for coming along. I am Amadou Kante and now the news in detail. Now a severe inferno has burned to assist a mechanical garage at Wellingara, Nema Junction. The owner said they cannot establish the cause of the fire, but some cars and the material stored have all perished in the fire incident. Yahya Jammeh reports.
This was how the fire ravages cars and other materials, including gearboxes that were kept in a store. The fire was set to occur on Sunday around 5 to 6 p.m. The owner said nobody was in the garage during the fire as it was on a Sunday, saying that they don't normally work on Sundays. Lamin Sambo, the owner of the mechanical garage, said he was at a family meeting in Busumbala when he received a call from a neighbor that his garage was on fire.
At the meeting in Busumbala, my family meeting.
I was at a family meeting in Busumbala when I got a call that my garage is on fire. Then I rushed to my car to come down here. Upon my arrival, I met the fire service and the people putting out the fire. But I don't know what causes the fire because it is Sunday and nobody was here working. And we were all at home. Only Allah knows what causes the fire.
Yeah, so Lutal Safar Yala Mokaham.
Lamin said he cannot estimate the damage caused by the fire, but 4 cars have already been burned down to ashes, which their owners brought to the garage for some maintenance.
Almost 4 cars.
Almost 4 cars perished in the fire. One is my own, but the other 3 cars were here for maintenance, and one among them is a government vehicle. I cannot state the amount lost, but I can tell it is a lot because not only the cars, but my working equipment, documents, and my store, which contains people's materials, have all gone. However, I thank God that no one got hurt.
No,
Fire incidents, especially in mechanical garages, can cause a lot of havoc, including extension to the neighborhood, the inhalation of the explosions from car engines, and explosions which can harm individuals. However, the garage owner said no one was hurt, but only people's properties perished in the inferno. Reporting for Eyeafrica News, I am Yahya Jammeh.
And from that unfortunate report there, now elsewhere in the continent, Ghana's rating agency, Modi, has revealed that the country's downgraded long-term issue, of course, and senior unsecured debt rating declined from CAA1 to CAA2 amid the prevailing economic challenges. According to the expert, the downgrade could further derail Ghana's access to international financial support, which often help to bring stability to a distressed economy. Ghana's debt remains high at 84% of GDP, and domestic revenue mobilization remains a challenge, but the government hopes to change the narrative. Let's have more details of that in this report.
Ghana's economy has been struggling since the beginning of this year. The cost of food, fuel, and many other goods has shot up. Inflation rose to nearly 34% in August, the highest in 21 years. Ratings agency Moody's says Ghana's long-term issuer and unsecured debt ratings downgrade from CAA1 to CAA2 reflects the country's worsening public finances. it has led to a prolonged lack of access to loans from the international capital market. Analysts are concerned that the downgrade could further prevent Ghana from securing loans from other sources.
The more you are downgraded, the more, of course, your credibility is not stable, and of course it becomes even more difficult for you even to attract private investment, because whilst you are being locked out in the international capital market, of course, completely, you still have avenue, multiple sectors that are open to investment, to private sector investors and all of that. So they also, actually look at some of these things to determine their investment destinations.
Ghana's foreign exchange reserves have declined. International gross reserves declined from $8.1 billion in May to $7.6 billion in June, according to data from Ghana's central bank. Ghana's debt portfolio is estimated to hit 84% of GDP by the end of this year. The government says it is considering a debt restructuring program with its lenders.
It will come at an additional cost to you, but then it gives you a breathing room to be able to actually have the space to gather yourself and be able to pay back whatever you owe to them.
Ghana is seeking a $3 billion support package from the International Monetary Fund to tackle the challenges in its economy. The negotiation between Ghana and the IMF has been going on for months. It is unclear when the deal will be signed, but the government says it hopes to speed up the talks in order to include key aspects of the program in its budget statement for next year.
And that report is coming from the West African country, Ghana. Now to the eastern part of the country, because the Tanzanian government has introduced the Personal Data Protection Bill of 2022, which is the country's first comprehensive set to rules related to personal data protection, covering both electronic and non-electrical personal data forms. Amid the growing number of internet users in this African country, experts say that the citizens are often exposed to abuse due to a lack of clear laws on the matter. The data protection law is expected to help boost public trust on their privacy and data protection. Let's have more details of that in this report.
Despite having one of the most robust ICT sectors in Africa, Tanzania is yet to have concise legislation on data privacy and protection. After stalling for years, the government says it is now ready for a legal and regulatory framework that would allow it to harness ICT's development potential while limiting the risks that come with it. As it stands, citizens still lack the right to navigate the online space with their privacy respected, and they're often denied anonymity, but that's about to change.
We have been waiting for long to have the data protection law, and the good news is we are now formally permitted to continue the process, and we are hoping this month is going to have the first reading in the Parliament.
The importance of data privacy and protection has gained unprecedented attention in recent years, requiring elaborate rules of protection. Digital literacy experts at Smart Lab say citizens are often exposed to abuse due to lack of clear laws on the matter.
The first challenge is the prevalence of fraudulent behaviors. People can use personal data for their own benefit. So let's say, leaving aside, let's say even the digital data, let's say you submitted a copy of your ID, let's say to open a bank account. If it's not limited and you don't have control of where else that document can be submitted, then a person maybe can go get a loan using the data without your consent.
Tanzania has one of the fastest growing numbers of internet users on the continent. As of March this year, Tanzania has 30 million internet users, up from 28 million last year. Experts feel with new data protection laws, the government and the private sector can collect data in a safe and legal way and use personal information in making business decisions.
Financial data, you can learn about their financial behaviors, and by learning about their financial behaviors, you exactly know even their interests, how much they are ready to spend on what, which also can trigger new services, new products.
As it stands, data privacy and protection is found in varying degrees in various pieces of legislation in different sectors. For instance, those relating to privileged information obtained through relationships such as doctor-patient, banker-customer, electronic service, licensee-customer, and employer-employee interactions. Making the laws might be the easy part. Then the government will need to educate the millions of online users who have low data literacy skills on how to protect their data.
And that report there is coming from the Tanzanian capital, Dar es Salaam. In other news, the United Nations Secretary General has been reiterating calls for governments and world leaders to speed up efforts to mitigate climate change issues around the world. Antonio Guterres said the collective commitment of G20 governments is coming far too little and late, and actions of the wealthiest developed and emerging economics simply don't add up. Details of that in this report, again by Yahya Jammeh.
Reports on climate change mitigation indicate that changing main energy sources to clean and renewable energy is the best way to stop using fossil fuels. This indicates technologies like solar, wind, wave, tidal, and geothermal power. A warmer climate increased public health challenges like heat-aggravated illnesses, increase in vector-borne diseases, and decreased access to safe water and food. Cutting short-lived climate pollutants can slow the rate of warming and lower public health risk. These issues worry the United Nations, as climate issues have always been a center for discussion in every general meeting. Taking stock of recent climate events, Secretary General Antonio Guterres said no country or economy is immune to climate crisis.
A third of Pakistan flooded. Europe's hottest summer in 500 years. The Philippines hammered. The whole of Cuba in blackout. And here in the United States, Hurricane Ian has delivered a brutal reminder that no country and no economy is immune from the climate crisis.
The UN boss said the world is in life or death struggle for its safety today and survival tomorrow.
The collective commitments of G20 governments are coming far too little and far too late. The actions of the wealthiest developed and emerging economies simply don't add up. Taken together, current pledges and policies are shutting the door on our chance to limit global temperature rise to 2 degrees Celsius, let alone meet the 1.5 degree goal. We are in a life or death struggle for our own safety today and our survival tomorrow.
Secretary General Guterres urged leaders to take full part in COP27 and tell the world what climate action they will take nationally and globally. Leaders of the world can demonstrate through their presence and active participation that climate action truly is the top global priority that it must be. The UN boss also highlighted the need for meaningful progress in addressing loss and damage beyond adaptation, as well as finance for climate action. Reporting for Eyeafrica News, I am Yahya Jammeh.
Yes, this is Africa TV, and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin coming to you live from our studios in Banjul. And from the report there, we now take a break and come back shortly. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
TAF Africa Global is the first and biggest private real estate developer in the Gambia, with a presence in 7 other African countries. We are launching the development of the first smart and most modern office and retail towers in the Gambia, called TAF Twins, located in the heart of the Kanifing institutional area and 10 minutes drive from Banjul. TAF Twins is designed to have 5 floors of office spaces ranging from 50 meters square to over 1,000 meters square, 2 elevators, central air conditioning, 24-hour electricity and water supply, with the ground floor reserved for banking, supermarket, restaurant and coffee shops. For your bookings and reservations, please call now on 376-2333 or 776-2333.
Welcome back, and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin on Eyeafrica TV, and once again, many thanks for joining us. Let's now look at the rest of the stories. World Health Organization's Director General, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, has said that diseases like cholera, Ebola, and COVID-19 are on increase, while some countries like Uganda have seen a massive surge of cholera. The WHO boss said his office has issued an appeal to over $81 million to support the delivery of immunization and other life-saving health services. Here's more details of that in this report by Maria Macha.
Cholera is an extremely virulent disease that can cause severe acute watery diarrhea. It takes between 12 hours and 5 days for a person to show symptoms after ingesting contaminated food or water. It affects both children and adults and can kill within hours if untreated. The World Health Body raises concern about the recent resurgence of what it described as a deadly outbreak.
After years of declining cases globally, we have seen a warning upsurge of cholera outbreaks around the globe over the past year. In the first 9 months of this year alone, 27 countries have reported cholera outbreaks. Not only are we seeing more outbreaks, but more deadly outbreaks. But with an increasing number of outbreaks, supply cannot keep up with demand. We urge the world's leading vaccine manufacturers to talk to us about how we can increase production. Cholera thrives on poverty and conflict, but is now being turbocharged by climate change.
Speaking to reporters in Geneva, Dr. Tedros said so far 63 confirmed and probable Ebola cases have been reported, including 29 deaths in Uganda.
10 health workers have been infected and 4 have died. 4 people have recovered and are receiving follow-up care. The vaccines used successfully to curb recent Ebola outbreaks in the Democratic Republic of the Congo are not effective against the type of Ebola virus that's responsible for this outbreak in Uganda. However, several vaccines are in various stages of development against this virus, 2 of which could begin clinical trials in Uganda in the coming weeks, pending regulatory and ethics approvals from the Ugandan government.
Director General Ghebreyesus said the organization is continuing to support the government of Uganda in responding to an outbreak of Ebola disease in 4 districts. Speaking of a vaccine for the cholera outbreak in Uganda, the WHO's chief scientist Dr. Sumaya Swaminathan said there are 2 vaccines available, but they are yet to identify one.
There are 2 different candidates, one from the University of Oxford and one from the Sabine Vaccine Institute. There are very limited doses available, unfortunately, of both of them. There is raw materials, so there has to be some fill and finish to make the product ready. Now, which vaccine, which of these 2 will actually go into the trial may depend on when the doses, which one actually has doses to deploy. Sooner, it would be good to, of course, test as many vaccines as possible.
Given updates on COVID-19, the WHO boss said cases will increase but not necessarily deaths as long as precautionary measures are available like vaccines.
We expect reported cases of COVID-19 to increase, but the deaths don't have to, given we have vaccines and therapeutics that can save lives. Measures introduced to curb the spread of COVID-19 during the pandemic also help to reduce the burden of flu. But with most of these measures lifted, flu is back and should not be taken lightly. Flu vaccines are safe and effective in reducing severe disease and death, especially among the most at-risk groups. So please get your flu vaccine.
Several African and Asian countries have reported cholera outbreaks in 2021 and 2022. Major ongoing outbreaks are being reported from Afghanistan, Bangladesh, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, and Nigeria. With regards to COVID-19, the WHO said it is expecting more recorded cases, but no deaths as far as measures are followed accordingly. Reporting for Eyeafrica News, I am Yahya Jammeh.
And from the report on to our final story now, because Nigerian consumers face shrinking product size amid inflation, when Nigerians have suffered sticker shock at the grocery store due to record high inflation. Some business owners, including supermarkets, are also concerned about the situation, but they say it's not their fault. Shrinkflation happens when consumers' products get smaller in size or weight or quality, while their price stay the same or even increase. The West African nation heavily relies on imported products. Thus, high inflation remain a concern. Let's have more details of that in this report.
Supermarket shopping in Nigeria is becoming a bigger challenge as goods get smaller.
It really feels deceitful in the market, coming to get products and you're not really getting value for what you're paying for in terms of quantity and all. So it's actually a deceitful experience.
It is not funny to say. I think, let me use milk or I think gari to say per se. I used to buy it still in the same price, but the quantity of it has really dropped. It does not satisfy the way it used to. At least maybe you buy a mudu, you can use it for 3 days, 4 days, but now even 1 day, I think it's very difficult that you can actually manage to use it with your families.
Supermarket owners blame the situation on inflation and an over-dependence on importation of raw materials for manufacturing, such as wheat.
The inflation is affecting almost all the companies because some of the materials are being sourced abroad, not home materials. They source their material outside. Some of them, with the high rate of dollar, when they exchange their dollar to get those materials, they need to reduce the size of their products in order to stand in the market. If not, they will fold up.
Nigeria has grappled with double-digit inflation since 2016. The West African nation relies on importation of raw materials for use by manufacturing industries such as wheat. The United Nations Comtrade database says Nigeria spent over $150 million on wheat imports from Ukraine in 2020 alone, and that supply is now constrained by the war there.
We have to imbibe production. We have to see how we can start producing these goods and services within our economy. We have to see how we can even win some foreign manufacturers to come into the country and manufacture within the economy.
During its last Monetary Policy Committee meeting this week, Nigeria's central bank raised its key interest rate to 15.5%, its highest in 16 years, to tame inflation. The government says it is also increasing support for local farmers to ensure food production. It has released $155 million for 12 projects in the agricultural and manufacturing sectors. But that will take time to feed through the system. The impact on product sizes on supermarket shelves like these won't be seen by customers for some time.
And that business report there from the West African country of Nigeria. We eventually bring this news edition to an end, but for more details on this and other stories, as always, as ever, you can visit on our website on Eyeafrica.tv. But for now, many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and do have a pleasant evening. Bye for now.